What a day. What a day. Yeah, put a timer on me straight away. 15 minutes. 15 minutes, okay? Because I'm in my hometown. I'm an Edmontonian. I'm an Edmontonian now. I'm Canadianised. 95% still in immigration, but I'm getting there, you know what I mean? I'm there. Anyway, what I want to share today is really just my journey from the head back to the heart, and how I had a number of breakdowns and breakthroughs that would allow me to really navigate through life and self-publish my first book, one of 3 bestsellers, Activating Flow, which I've dedicated to my little boy, Lucian. So let me share the journey. Okay, so I was born in 1968, single mum. My dad left before I was born, and I've never met him to this day. God bless. By the age of 5, my mum was struggling with mental health and going through a lot of difficulty. She was on heavy medication, and she was getting electric shock treatment. She'd had 8 sessions of 24, and she was not in good shape. So I was taken into a children's home for the next 8-9 years, which was really bizarre when I look back. A children's home, 12 of us living in a house, a big house. And we had all the staff there that were called aunts and uncles. It was just, I look back and it was just bizarre. But I just remember growing up in this children's home, how I felt alone, fear, stress, trauma. And you know, when you're a child growing up, that your nervous system is very vulnerable to any kind of shock or anything you would experience as a child, because it's a big wide world. But mostly it was emotional confusion, like I was saying earlier. And it's, you know, emotional confusion is the inability to process what we're experiencing. And what I went through in the children's home, I couldn't process. So, you know, I just look at, it wasn't all bad. There was rules, there was discipline I was grateful for. But what I loved was the youth club. Do you remember we had youth club? Paul, you're a golden oldie. Do you remember back in the day we went to youth club? We was active, we was doing sport, we was whacking nails into woods, building go-karts, we was doing it. And I remember just back in the day, life was so simple. And then Sunday school. I used to have to shine my shoes and put my best outfit on to go to Sunday school. But you know, with Sunday school, at the local church where there was real seeds of faith, it was family. It was family, it was love, it was values, it was connection. And I always remember that environment, families that I would hang out with, because I was in a children's home. At school, I was a little sportsman. I played soccer, and in my early teens, I was a long-distance runner. I loved running cross-country for school. At the age of 15, I came out the children's home, and I went to live with my mum and my stepdad, and I just remember in the last year of school, I just switched off. I had no desire to learn, and I went to the streets, smoking dope, drinking alcohol, fighting, trying to fit in because I was in a new area, a town. And I just remember just the crime I was getting involved in. I was just a rebel, and I was getting lost on the streets where it's survival of the fittest. And I remember I was playing in a men's league, I was playing soccer, and I was getting knocked around by men at like 16, 17, and I wasn't having it. So I was fighting every week. And what happened over a period of time is I was getting red card after red card. I got banned. I got banned from playing. And that's where my life took a massive turn. Because once I stopped moving the body, once I stopped being active, my past caught up with me. Like old files on my internal hard drive that I'd not processed. And I just remember going through depression. And I just remember just feeling really low, down, energy, confidence really low. And I went through a difficult time. And I'd go through a mental breakdown. And I remember just struggling to sleep night after night. And one morning, the light came in through the curtains, and I got up and I went for a run. And I reconnected with that young lad that loved that space, that time to just get away on my own and just have that release and feel that activation. And I carried on running and just really detached from the street. And I just remember when I explain a mental breakdown, it was because I had a lot of, I would say, beliefs about life. And when I went through the process with the beliefs, there was a deeper sense of knowing within me. The heart knew. And this is when I went through the Jesus experience of seeing the truth beyond the veil, the matrix, that what I was seeing was wrong. I had family that were on heroin, that had been sexually abused. My family was broken. I was on my own in all of this. I had nobody to share this with as I went through this breakdown and a breakthrough, but my heart would show me the way. And I remember that Jesus was the gateway to spirituality, that I was in spirit and inspired, and that I connected to the universe, the universal flow that would guide me. And I just remember that time, I just took control of my life. And by the age of 19, I was playing semi-professional soccer and I was working in a nightclub. But I had a lot of characters around me. And this was when drug culture came in, 1987. Ecstasy, acid, amphetamine sulfate, cocaine, uppers, downers, party prescriptions. And that's what we did on a weekend. We took drugs, we went out, we went clubbing, we played sport. And I knew during this period that I was going through another breakdown. There was more work to do on that journey from the head back to the heart. And I remember I just needed to get space, get away. And this is where movement became my medicine. Hello? Hello, something going on. So this is where movement became my medicine, and I started to learn to get high on my own supply. That we have these natural neurochemicals within us, endorphins, when we push beyond the pain. The dopamine, the serotonin. If you change your food, if you're willing to move through the process, those reward chemicals. But the number one is oxytocin, is that love you've got to have for yourself. No matter what you go through in life, you've got to find that self-love. Otherwise, you can't give it. And I went through this second breakdown and breakthrough, and I remember I went to Europe with my aunt, and I went traveling, and I came home, and I just remember getting into a relationship and falling in love. And before I knew it, I'd brought a child into the world, and I did exactly what my dad did. I left. And I was feeling so much guilt, so much regret, because it wasn't just about me now, it was about somebody else. It was the pain I'd caused. And I remember I went back to the drugs. I just remember being on speed. I just remember just breaking down. It all changed for me because it wasn't about me now. It was what I had created in my life. And I just remember just being so low. And I went into a boxing gym. And I remember just going into a gym and getting on a bag. And I just remember getting on a bag and just feeling that raw aggression that I had, that fire that I'd always had. And I found a focus for it. I boxed amateur, I boxed professional, and in 1997 I retired from boxing to work with youth. And I started to develop a program, BoxWise. It started as Control Channel Performance, but then it became BoxWise, how to teach kids to control, release, and channel emotional stress and physical energy positively. what I started to learn about as well was brain gym. There was a concept called brain gym that a lot of kids that were staying in kind of the classroom for a long time were switching off. The right brain absorbs sensory information. If we don't process this excessive information that's coming in, and we don't process in our heads, by the way, we know. We process from the heart. When we're dealing with emotion, energy, emotion, it's the heart. That's where you need to be. And a lot of us grow up and we get so disconnected from the heart. So I was teaching kids to switch on and tune in. I was using brain gym. And the success of my program allowed me to work with schools, a lot of pupil referral units, youth projects, and preventing reoffending because I had this experience. And I just went on a deeper journey of healing and self-discovery. And in that process, shamanic sweat lodges, when we're looking at alternative ways to recover, there's so many ways that we can learn to heal and grow. And I was vision quests out in Lake Bala, flying to Germany, Manchester, London. I was doing the healing. And just really dealing with that emotion, that deep, heavy stuff that was, holding me back for years. And in the process, I came to Canada in 2012, and my son was born in 2013. Lucian, where are you? Is it the back right, in the red hoodie? So my son was born, and I went through adversity back in the UK and was going through so much with the relationship and bringing my son into the world. And I just remember that this flow that had guided me throughout life, I just had to trust the process. And coming to Canada and coming to Edmonton, it was the first time I felt home. And I had a chance to be a dad. And for me, I had to get here, and I got here. My son's mum got me a work permit, and I didn't know how it was going to work out. I did not know immigration existed. I can tell you. I was always used to saying, I'm Carl, this is what I do, and I'm going to make it happen. I did not know the trips and slips of immigration. But I met some amazing people along the way, because I think when you stay in the flow and you're in that synchronicity, you attract the right people. When you get in the way, you don't. You attract the right people, and that's what I was doing here. I found here in Edmonton that I was meeting so many people, but there was so much going on with the healing and recovery here, which was amazing. And I went to the Legends gym, and I met Mr. Kev McGilvery, who was here earlier. I started doing jiu-jitsu. Again, just a great therapy, a great way to recover physically. And Brazilian jiu-jitsu, I've been doing it for 10 years. But at the Legends Family Training Center, that's where I really got to develop my work and develop my skills. And in 2018, I developed the Energy Wise University of Life. That's my stand over there. And really, it's the study for me of understanding we're living in a universe, and thoughts are electric, emotions are like frequencies, and we all have a vibration. And it's like Tesla says, if you want to know the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. We are electromagnetic. The universe is. We're so connected but yet disconnected. So I developed the art skill system, awareness, going into schools, working with kids, awareness, just stress-wise, becoming stress-wise, recognizing reaction from response, release, which was box-wise. I've been doing box-wise now for 27 years, which is really, me getting out of the way and finding that magic in being able to help, and especially with youth. And the release, and working with Ben Gillamere the last 4 years at the Legends, we're gonna put Boxwise online. So I have a system that I've developed, and we're gonna develop even further. So awareness, release. What's the next one? T. Tools. Tools for self-regulating. Who are you Who here is a stress collector? Yeah, it's hard not to be in today's world. So how do you self-regulate? How do you catch things early, you know? So it's all about having the skills. So skills development, stress management and skills development is the system that I developed. In 2018, I met a young man who, Thomas Deneve, he was a MMA fighter, and I started training him. And he said to me, Carl, I've got a marketing company. Come and see me. How am I doing? He said to me, 30 seconds. I've got 30 seconds to get this in, right? Okay. I went to see him and he said to me, get your book done. And it was a magic moment. And in 2 weeks, I had 18 chapters when I woke up in 1985, 86. My son was 6. That's when I went in the children's home. I came here to do the deeper work to heal the wounded child. And if there's anything I want to leave you with today, it's 4 things. 1, movement is medicine. We get high on our own supply. You've got to move your body. The future's movement. Without it, you're going nowhere. Think about it. Okay? 2, many of us need to heal the wounded child. I know that well. And that, you know, the child is in the moment. The child is present. When you watch a child, when I watch my son, and you watch a child, they're in their hearts. This is so important that with children, they don't get stuck like many of us adults in their heads, that they can find their passion and love for life and purpose. So many of us need to heal that wounded child. 3, recognizing reaction from response. When you learn to recognize reaction, that when we get stuck in the minefield of thoughts, we've got to get back to the heart. We've got to develop that ability to respond. And 4 is learning to live from our hearts is where the power, the moment, and the flow is. Activating flow. And this is the book that I wrote. And I left school with no qualifications. I wrote this book. I dedicated it to Lucian. But it's time to promote it. It's time to promote it. And that's what I wanted to do today, is just share my experience and promote my book. Thank you for listening. It's been an awesome day. I'm absolutely knackered. No, but I got to say, I met this guy. I met someone more crazier than me. And he's Fruit Loops. This dude is Fruit Loops, but I love him. He's got a big heart. And there's nobody who works 24/7 social media, this dude, and makes things happen. I can't deny it. So, you know, I love you, Jay. You're a crackerjack, but I love you. Thank you.